protect the congregation, most assuredly. So if somebody
Above
was...
the child.
No, the child is the congregation.
But that's
every
what
other child
I'm
in the congregation. No. We might not be able to take judicial action, but I know what I would do. I would call the branch, the service department, and we as a body of elders would be very clear about protecting the congregation in that type of a situation. And when I say congregation, I mean the little children and their parents. So we would definitely speak to and make sure that the parents were aware of the need to protect their child, because that man publicly has been branded. Now, you know there have been instances in the United States and other places where people have been put to death, and the overwhelming evidence
Yes, I
was
agree
wrong.
that has been, there is people in prison that are.
So while I am going to respect the
However,
government,
the judicial system is, for the most part, correct. So, yes, the judicial system has sent people to prison falsely, but most of the time they are right.
and I agree. So we would protect the little sheep in the congregation, not some organization in New York. That's not my suggestion of what I'm saying. Psalm 100 verse 3, we're all sheep in Jehovah's pastures, first and foremost. But I might not be able, because here's the thing that you're overlooking. If I then do something that is not in accord with the scriptures, do you know that you could say, you know what, you disfellowshipped me, and it was one elder. That's not according to any of the directions of Jehovah, but it was crazy. One elder that decided to do that. Guess what you now do? You sue me, and you sue the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and now everything in print, the Watchtower, we never said to do that, and the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society would never condone that acted like some crazy man. And he would be in serious trouble for being a maverick and doing that kind of craziness.
Well, I'm not talking about one person, I'm talking about a judicial committee.
Or 3,000 persons.
But this brings me to with the child abuse too. It brings me to that point in, there's a big thing happening in Australia.
Okay.
And it's big. And they're actually trying to.
So you're saying that Jehovah's Witnesses are promoting and or condoning child abuse. That's what...
I'm not saying Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm saying this is a problem. This is a big problem. That is, I don't say that they're condoning it, but I don't necessarily see them addressing it as aggressively as they should.
And
Now,
just
I
so
want
you
to
know,
go back to the Australian thing real quick.
this I would
because
say
there's
is
a
like
big-
going and grabbing a 1910 Watchtower.
This
and
isn't
saying
that
it's
old.
represented.
This isn't that old. This is just a few years old.
1991.
All right, so 10 years old. But
But
still,
I-
that's not 1901. That's
20 years.
21. I'm talking about now.
Now let me...
This is so frustrating because I misspoke. I said that I got this from Pay Attention to Yourself and All the Flock, and I actually got it from Shepherding the Flock of God, the new manual, and really frustrated that I flubbed that up. Anyway, continuing.
But I want to finish my sentence now with the Australian thing.
How has child abuse
With
become
the-
more of a
with
clear
the-
issue?
With the Australian thing, once that hit the news, because I've been reading the Watchtower from jw.org.
Okay, good.
But I did notice that, I think it's on watchtower.org, they took Australia off the chart once all this started coming into the news, and I found that kind of telling, that all of a sudden the Australia was taken off. To me, that seems like hiding to me. It's like, okay, there's a big problem in Australia, we'll just take them off the little list. I forget which one it is, jw.org or watchtower.org, it lists all the countries that they deal with, and that they publish in and all that, and Australia was removed.
Okay.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of bothered me. And I'm not saying that Australia, the organization, the congregations in Australia speak for everybody, but it's a problem.
Okay.
And it's a problem that I see being sweet talked around and not really addressed.
I can tell you in absolute terms, my conscience doesn't bother me in the slightest bit based on the instruction that I received. Now, do you think that I then think that means that nearly 160,000 elders in the United States, that I think every one of them is going to be an exemplary elder?
No,
I mean, I go back to King David its own family,
I
absolutely.
tell you, if they were, I would, not have an issue at all. That
We'd
would
be
it would be
angelic.
a problem.
Yeah, we'd
Yeah,
be
exactly,
angelic.
yeah.
But I can
But,
tell you that in absolute terms, child abuse is something very serious. The superior authorities are clearly ministers in Jehovah's behalf in that situation. And I know I'm instructed, and I would instruct every elder, and I instruct every elder, and we have elder schools to try to make these matters clear so that bozos who don't seem to get it at some point in time don't ever trust in yourself. You have to communicate with other elders. You have to communicate with the branch. And we're instructed very clearly. If someone even says child abuse, you immediately call for further direction so that you don't do something foolish.
well, why don't
because
you
thought were
immediately
smart.
call the police?
You should do that too, yes. But you know what? I am not, I would tell someone, you must call and make sure that you take care of that matter with the
Yeah, because
authorities.
that bothers me here, they can call the branch office first.
No, but that's to make sure, that's to make sure that we call the authorities correctly. Here's what I'm not. In the legal department with Jehovah's Witnesses, volunteers who are lawyers are in that position, who deal with matters like this for New Hampshire every day, and I hope not every day, but commonly. I don't have the training in that regard. I'm not a lawyer. I wouldn't even know what phone number to call. If I call that number, guess what the brother's going to tell me? Here's the phone number, here's the person you should talk to, and here's the guidelines that the state has in place that you should comply with. I can tell you in absolute terms, because that's...
But have you ever heard of a website called Watchtower Documents?
There's
Barbara Anderson?
lots of apostate websites. I could probably spend now until eternity looking
But
at
what
such things.
labels it as a apostate website, just because she's got documentation?
Well, like I
Because she
said,
actually worked in Bethel and high up with Fred France and all that himself,
Sure.
and
sure,
Ted Durax, or whatever his name was.
sure.
And that's why she ended up leaving.
No.
It's not,
You're raising two different questions, because if I wanted to learn about Catholicism, would I call
What?
the Lutheran Church?
it's not a different issue, it's the same issue, because most of her documentation and the reason she left was the child molestation issues.
Sure.
Because of the policy,
If I wanted to learn about the Catholic Church, should I call the Lutheran Church?
I'm not asking her for advice, I'm looking at the actual documentation. It's
I
not an opinion, it's the actual documentations.
Right.
It's the actual, watch the Awake articles that they had.
And I can tell you, if you're going to tell me that 3,000 people have had problems, I'm not even going to have to tell you that I have to go look. I'm just going to dignify those people and say that in no way, shape, or form does the Bible or Jehovah's organization condone such things. Period.
Well, I'm sure that they, probably they don't, but it doesn't eliminate the issue.
Which if I wasn't a circuit overseer, and
I'm a sewing instructor. I tell my students I never pull out a seam ripper. This is how I pull out seams. I pull out seams. I'm just trying to teach them something else.
Sure. I can tell you my conscience doesn't bother me in the slightest bit, because maybe before I was even a publisher, or before I became a baptized witness, maybe I could have wondered. But I mean, I don't know how much more involved in the organization I would have to get. If there's some incredible secret underbelly of Jehovah's organization, they have totally faked me out on it. Now,
It's possible.
if you wanted to show me 3,000 court cases,
They're
I
at
would say,
Watchtower Documents. They're all there.
then let's say they all exist. Are you saying that I'm lying right now? That's the challenge we're facing.
There's a difference between lying and
Then I'm naive.
naive, omission, theocratic warfare. That's another term that is used.
It's, I think, a jump too, because, for instance, you immediately applied that I said I'd call the legal department, that I was in some way insinuating I wouldn't call the authorities. That's absolutely not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. But if you want to, and I'm not saying you are twisting, if you want to twist that and make it sound like I'm doing something deceitful, you could, sure.
Yeah, but naive is a good word. No.
Then I'm
Naive is not stupid.
I'm pretty
It's
comfortable.
like ignorant isn't,
I'm pretty comfortable if you looked at,
ignorant and idiot aren't the same.
I'm pretty comfortable that if you really knew me, no one would describe me that way. If you really knew me. And so I'm gonna tell you, you show me 3,000 court cases, I'm gonna say, those are 3,000 inappropriate, if that's the conclusion that's drawn. I can tell you examples where people have called somebody a child abuser and they were lying.
I know, and that's a horrible thing. It is a horrible thing, and I know it does happen. That's why professionals need to handle it.
Agreed.
Because
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of counseling. I don't have any kind of training. I can't talk to
Because
you.
absolutely,
You know,
the well-being of children, and I can tell you that is the public and private stance of the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses to protect children.
but what about the cases where there have been an accusation made, and they have been told, because there's numerous of these, and they have been told, we'll handle it. And they go to the authorities anyway, and they were disfellowshipped for that. And then when it went to court, the Watchtower lawyers defended him, and the disfellowship members sat all by themselves. To me, that's victimizing the victim even more. And even if it's a few isolated cases, why would the Watchtower send lawyers to defend an accused person? Why would they even get involved in something like that?
To give you a really simple answer to a matter that to truly address, I have to look at all of the legal case and like, the only thing that I can conclude in a situation like that would be that there's other extenuating information that I'm not aware of at this point in time. Because there's, in absolute terms, I've been an elder for 14 years. In absolute terms, there's no way that I would be allowed. I mean, I'm a circuit overseer, and I would get my hand smacked if I somehow just finagled some fancy disfellowshipping of somebody.
My father was
That's
an
not
elder,
okay. That's not okay,
you know.
because
And he took it very seriously.
true religion is protecting those most in need. Absolute terms. So could we probably find a situation where an elder did something wrong, or people did something, I'm totally gonna agree that I don't condone it. And I can tell you, as a representative, I'm not taught nor directed.
I'm not expecting the witnesses to not have any problems. That's not what I'm saying.
We in absolute terms do not condone wrong.
And that's not what I'm saying. But I am seeing overwhelming evidence that has me extremely disturbed, because I see a lot of shady stuff with the sending the lawyers for the accused, for instance, covering up the disfellowshipping, and you're disagreeing with it, and that's fine.
No, I'm not saying that. I
But-
said I don't know all the evidence,
But
but I would not condone it.
even one cover-up, to me, you know, making a mistake is fine. But one cover-up, if just one of those cases is wrong, is actual, and they got disfellowshipped for
It's
going
wrong.
to the authorities,
It's wrong.
and to protect the organization,
It would be wrong.
to me, that's no different than the Catholic
It would be
protecting
wrong.
their thing. And that's what has me disturbed. I don't count every single case of this as, you know, well, look at this case, that's the organization, look at this case, that's not what I'm saying.
Mhm.
You know, I know there's a lot of cases, but there are a lot enough to where there is evidence of they protected the organization over the victim.
That would be wrong.
And I
Yeah,
agree,
absolutely.
that's my problem too.
Yeah.
That is my problem too.
Yeah. And so if that's the conclusion that you've drawn, then
I
you
can't
need to
get
find.
my head around this.
Yeah.
These two issues are my big ones.
Yeah.
Like I said, the other ones I
Well, I can tell you
I
this,
can accept, but
in absolute terms, I can tell you that Jehovah's Witnesses do not in any way condone or recommend a cover-up or anything like that of child abuse, period. And you will be able to find evidence maybe that suggests differently, but it's not true.
I wish I still had those watchtower.
And I can tell you this, I mean, this is a challenging situation. If somebody's objective is to correct things, good.
Yeah, because mistakes, I have no problem with mistakes.
But if you think Fred France, for instance, his objective is to correct things,
Well, Fred Franz isn't correcting anything today.